Now, it's a big news coming in after the Indus Treaty review. Now, the most favoured nation status given to Pakistan is also under review. Sources telling India today the Prime Minister has called for a meeting to review the Pakistan's most favoured nation status. The meeting has been called with officials from PMO, Commerce and Industry officials and the MEA as well. India had unilaterally given MFN status to Pakistan in 1996 under the WTO consideration, but Pakistan so far has not reiterated that step. Executive also Rahul Kawal is right now joining us, managing editor of India Today TVT. And Rahul, this is the big news because India today was the first one to question and get a confirmation from North Bloc that Pak MFN status is indeed under serious review by the government.
Over the weekend, we broke the story about how the Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan was coming under review. Now, India Today breaking first the story of how the Prime Minister's office has called an important meeting on the 29th of this month, asking for a review of the most favoured nation status unilaterally given to Pakistan under the World Trade Organization. Remember, Pakistan has so far not reciprocated this gesture. India has for the longest time been asking for the MFN status, but because it got caught in Pakistan's internal domestic politics, where people said, how can India be sabse pasandida mulk for Pakistan, and therefore India never got this status. Now we're being told that there will be presentations from officials from the Commerce and Industry Ministry, from the Ministry of External Affairs. The Prime Minister is likely to take a very stern view on this. We've already seen, Devina, what he did with the Indus Water Treaty, where he took a very, very strong position, which essentially said that water and blood cannot flow together. We don't know just yet what the Prime Minister will ultimately decide in this meeting, but from the indications we are getting from the highest sources in government seem to suggest that the Prime Minister taking a very stern, muscular position on this, that it can't be a one-sided street. One of the officials who called me used the word unilateral status that had been given by India to Pakistan, and that really is something that India now wants to consider once again, or at least have its cards out on the table. Devina.
Absolutely, Rahul, and this would mean opening another front to tackle with Pakistan, because we've already seen Sushma Swaraj's tough words at the United Nations calling for global isolation of Pakistan, the water warfare and the economic warfare which will directly hurt Pakistan across the border, and ensure that a tough message is given that India will not tolerate proxy wars on its soil.
Absolutely, because what the government seems to have indicated is that while a military option is not something they will talk about, whatever preparations may be underway, those preparations are happening behind the scenes, not something the government wishes to talk about in public. However, reviewing the Indus Water Treaty, or using the full extent of the water that we are entitled to under the IWT, or reviewing Pakistan's status as a most favoured nation for India. These are things that can be done. These are things, this is a status that was accorded by India unilaterally to Pakistan. So it is within our purview, within our rights to ask for a review of the most favoured nation station. Remember, we've been speaking to some Indian traders, some Indian businessmen. They say it doesn't really make much of a difference because a lot of the trade that happens with Pakistan happens through the Dubai route. It happens through the informal structure. Therefore, whether or not Pakistan gets the MFN status, the trade that happens through the sea lanes, the trade that happens through Wagah, or the trade that happens through Uri is very, very limited. And therefore, for a country as big as ours, for an economy as huge as ours, they don't seem to believe it makes much of a difference. But symbolically, you're sending a message. You're sending a message that this water will not flow to you unrestricted. We will use what we can. We will not give you the MFN status. There has to be a price. A message is being sent, and I think that's what we're seeing the Modi government do here.
Absolutely, Rahul. The bigger message, as you're talking about that, Pakistani goods can no longer access Indian market freely because Pakistan cannot sit on its high throne for over 2 decades now and enjoy the most favoured nation status, a gesture which they haven't reciprocated with India at all. So this was in 1996, and the question being raised now, will Modi government leave that lasting legacy of ensuring that Pakistan is given a befitting reply through diplomatic route, through trade route?
I think the thinking within the government is very clear, Devina, that it can't just be through non-military means, that at some point in time there must be some form of retaliation. But that, I think, is something that the Prime Minister very wisely has left to his military commanders. It's for the National Security Advisor, the 3 chiefs for services, to take a call on when, what, where and how. However, these are things the government can do. Leverage its diplomatic muscle. put Pakistan under pressure, seek to isolate Pakistan globally. That's something that we've been seeing at the United Nations General Assembly, play the Baluchistan card. From a strategy of so-called strategic restraint, we're now moving into a more proactive zone where India's options are being leveraged, Devina.
And matching what the Prime Minister said, the perpetrators of Uri attack will not go unpunished. Rahul, be with me. I also have former Foreign Secretary Shashank who is joining with me. Sir, good afternoon. This is the big story we're breaking now on India Today, that after the Indus Water Treaty review meet, now the Pakistan Most Favoured Nation status is also up for review. How do you read the developments coming from the Modi government? Finally, action matching up the promises that the government has been making to give befitting reply to Pakistan.
So what has happened all this time, that either India has not reviewed its bilateral treaties with Pakistan, even though Pakistan has been attacking India repeatedly. Firstly, there were these wars in 65 and 71, and then there was this unnamed war, the low-cost war, which has been going on for the last 30 years. So that is one. And second, that is where Indus Water Treaty, etc. comes under review. Secondly, India has been giving unilaterally a lot of facilities to Pakistan in order to increase better to people relations. But finally, we have found that the more we give unilateral benefits to Pakistan or its traders or people, we find that the more blood of Indians flows. And not only that, I think the Pakistanis apparently are preparing for terrorist attacks on larger establishments in India, military establishments, military hardware. So because the kind of new reports which have been coming out that they are training all these terrorists for all kinds of attacks on Indian assets.
But sir, here is the question that India had given the most favoured nation status to Pakistan in 1996, just like India had in a goodwill gesture signed the Indus Water Treaty in 1960. Now these are gestures coming from Indian side time and again after repeated betrayals from Pakistan. But there hasn't been a tougher diplomatic response after Pakistan continues to test our patience. Do you believe that Modi government's Pak policy is on the right track now?
Well, what I would say that all this time we had been saying that this is the last concession that we are giving to Pakistan, and it will settle all the issues between India and Pakistan, and henceforth we would all be living in peace and harmony. This is what our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru had said after the World Bank broker treaty was signed, that henceforth there will be no more troubles. But within 4 years of that treaty being signed, the Pakistanis were at it, firstly in Kutch and then later on in Kashmir. And then they carried on and on. Then they also were preparing for a nuclear weapons against India before the 71 war. So I think all these kind of things have been going on. So we have to try a different track with Pakistan in order to see, can we change the mindset of the Pakistani leaders, which is seems to be more like a commando. That if you give more concessions, they feel that you are in a weak position and they should push you more.
All right. Appreciate you joining us on this breaking news that we are getting to our viewers, that now the Prime Minister has called for another meet. This is second crucial meet after the Indus Water Treaty meet review. Now that Pakistan's most favoured nation status will be reviewed. And as Rahul pointed out, it's the symbolism that matters at this moment, where India is sending out strong signals to Pakistan. It must stop the treachery which has gone on for decades against India. Welcome back. And diplomatic machinery is on in full swing, with the Prime Minister now after the Indus Water Treaty review meet calling another meet to review Pakistan's most favoured nation status. This is the first news that you're getting on India Today, that the meeting is scheduled for September 29th with officials from the Prime Minister's office, the Commerce and Industry Ministry officials and also the MEA. Now India had unilaterally given Pak MFN status in 1996. Under the WTO arrangement, and Pakistan has so far not given MFN status to India. We have India Today's Rahul Kaval who is joining us. So Rahul, this is the first confirmation that we're getting, that now after the Indus Treaty review meet, Pak MFN status is also under review. after Sushma Swaraj's speech. This is an exclusive development that we are sharing with our viewers on India Today.
This is a story, Devina, that we broke first in India Today earlier this morning. The Prime Minister on the 29th of September calling a meeting of the External Affairs Ministry, of the Commerce and Industry Ministry, which will be attended by key officials from his office, where India will look at the most favoured nation status that's been given to Pakistan. This, remember, was done under the obligations of the WTO, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. This is an agreement that was supposed to be done in a reciprocal fashion, where Pakistan was also supposed to accord the same status to India for almost 2 decades now. They have failed to do so.
Yes.
The total trade between India and Pakistan officially is about $2.6 billion in 2015-16, out of which $2.2 billion is India's exports to Pakistan. So what's coming in from Pakistan is very little. So you can essentially say that if you were to review this, Indian export could be hit. But this is overall just 0.4% of India's overall goods trade of 643 billion. So if you look at it from a national pan-India perspective, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. This is a decision the government's taken. We've already seen from the position they've taken on Indus that here too, chances are, likelihood is very strong that India will be taking a very aggressive position. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will be reviewed immediately. It could be if push comes to shove. But at least India putting its diplomatic cards on the table, saying we will leverage all the tools we have to mount pressure on Pakistan.
Absolutely. Rahul, be with us. We also have Congress's Tom Vadakkan, who is joining us. Mr. Vadakkan, a big news coming in of the Prime Minister now reviewing the most favoured nation status given to Pakistan in the past 2 decades. It's time that Pakistan is given a befitting response. How do you read the development, sir? Do you believe that the Modi government is on the right track as far as its policy with Pakistan is concerned?
Well, I think this entire proceedings must be seen in a larger canvas. It has been a position that has been taken, especially in terms of trade and the water, Indus water we talked about earlier. Now, that's been examined, and there was a statement from the Prime Minister saying that neither blood nor water can flow, or be what it may. Now, this is the question of most favoured nation. Now, this is a situation I thought was very strange. Strange in sense it's like a Dickens story. Bacchus is willing. We're always willing, but for God's sake, trade is something two-way traffic. If that has not been practiced by whatever government, you may turn around and say it was the Congress government. This is not about government. This is about our country. You can't give them a most favoured status and not have it for yourself. So be what it may, government has to take a call on a variety of things.
No, but that's the question, Mr. Vadakkan, because even the UPA government had a chance to review the most favoured nation status given to Pakistan in 1996, specifically after 26/11, when there was a huge chorus to give befitting response to Pakistan. We understand that armed retaliation was not on the cards then and India refrained from it, but these are the gestures that could have led a long way in putting Pakistan in its place. I'm completely out of time, so I'll have to cut it short right here, but we continue following this latest development very closely as the next meeting on the card for the Prime Minister is the economic warfare against Pakistan, starting with the most favoured nation status given to the country to be under review. Taking a short break, coming right back.